Today, we will discuss a topic most people rarely consider. They are often too busy scrolling to notice it. We will discuss people who have quit social media. We will also discuss those who never gave it a serious place in their lives. What is fascinating is that these people seem different. They carry themselves differently. They speak differently. They think differently. A certain calm surrounds them. Their eyes hold a clarity. There is a depth in their presence that is hard to describe. You just feel it when you are around them. This is not a coincidence. This is not merely luck. This is psychology, deep, documented, and real. Consider this reality. The average person spends close to 7 hours a day staring at screens. Billions of people wake up every morning. The very first thing they do is reach for their phone. This happens before they brush their teeth, drink water, or speak to loved ones. They open Instagram, they open TikTok, they open X, they scroll. In that first moment of the day, their mind has not even fully awakened. Yet, they have already handed their attention to someone else. They have allowed the outside world to enter their mental space. This action sets the tone for their entire day. This is not a small thing. This is profound. Some people refuse to do this. They choose to protect that sacred first hour. They also protect their quiet morning mind. These individuals operate at a completely different psychological level than the rest of the world. Let us begin with the most fundamental difference. This is the concept of internal versus external validation. Edouard Deci and Richard Ryan were two of the most respected psychologists of the 20th century. They built an entire theory around this idea. They named it self-determination theory. At its core, human beings have two very different sources. From these sources, they draw their sense of worth and identity. The first source is external. It is approval from others. It is applause, admiration, and recognition. This includes a like, a comment, a share, or a follower count. The second source is internal. It involves a person's own judgment of themselves. It includes their values, their standards, and their deepest sense of self. Deci and Ryan's decades of research clearly showed this. People who draw their self-worth from internal sources are psychologically healthier. They are more resilient and emotionally stable. Ultimately, they are more satisfied with their lives. Now, social media enters this discussion. This is where the situation becomes genuinely alarming. Social media is a machine by its very design. It trains users to need external validation. Every notification is a signal. Every like is a dopamine hit. Researchers at Stanford Medicine confirmed this. The dopamine release from social media engagement is neurologically similar. It is similar to the dopamine response produced by addictive substances. Consider this carefully. When a person checks how many likes their post received, their brain reacts. These reactions are compatible to the brain of someone consuming alcohol or certain drugs. The Dartmouth University research team described short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops. This refers to a cycle where the user seeks a reward. The user gets a small hit, and then immediately craves more. Over time, this loop rewires the brain. It shifts a person's internal compass away from self-generated worth. Instead, it points entirely toward the crowd. Once living in that loop, your mood becomes vulnerable. Your confidence and sense of identity also become vulnerable. All of it becomes hostage to a number on a screen. The people who avoid social media never entered this loop. Because these individuals never entered this loop, their self-worth remained anchored. It remained anchored in something far more stable, within themselves. Their confidence does not rise and fall with notifications. Their mornings are not defined by post performance. They do not carry that invisible weight. They wake up already whole. Their wholeness was never dependent on the approval of strangers. Psychologically, this is an extraordinary advantage. Now, let us discuss attention. This is where the science becomes almost impossible to ignore. Dr. Gloria Mark is a professor at the University of California, Irvine. She spent nearly 2 decades studying how the digital world affects human attention. Her findings should be read in every school, every workplace, and every home on the planet. Her research states that the average person today can sustain attention. This attention lasts on a single screen for just 47 seconds. 47 seconds. The situation gets worse. When a person is interrupted or distracted, they attempt to return to focused work. It takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to fully recover that level of focus. 23 minutes. Gone. Just like that. This does not happen just once a day. It happens dozens of times every single hour for the average social media user. The brain is constantly and relentlessly trained to fragment itself. It is trained to jump. It is trained to scroll. It moves on before anything is fully processed or absorbed. This is not what the human brain was designed for. Our brains are capable of extraordinary depth. The mind can write a symphony. It can solve a mathematical theorem. It can sit with a grieving friend in perfect, present silence. Yet, that same mind is being conditioned day by day, scroll by scroll. It learns to prefer the surface. It learns to stay shallow. It learns to never go deep. The people who avoid social media keep their minds out of this battle. Their attention remains intact. Their ability to sit with a single thought is preserved. They can truly go deep into a single book or conversation. Cal Newport is a computer science professor. He is also the author of the groundbreaking books, Deep Work and Digital Minimalism. Newport argues that the capacity for focused, uninterrupted thought is becoming the rarest skill. It is also the most valuable skill in the modern economy. People who avoid social media are, almost by default, in possession of this valuable skill. Consider what deep focus actually means in real life. When these individuals read something, they understand it deeply. This level of understanding is beyond what distracted readers can reach. When they work on something, they reach a state that psychologists Mihaly it produces peak performance and genuine happiness. When they have a conversation with you, they are truly present. They listen with their entire being. They are not half present and half composing a caption for a post. This quality of presence, this ability to be truly there with another human being, is felt. People feel Italiano. It draws others toward them. It makes them magnetic. This brings us to what might be the most emotionally significant difference. This is how people who avoid social media experience and build relationships. A landmark study was published. It compared digital versus face-to-face communication. This research found something deeply human. It was entirely unsurprising once examined. The more lifelike the communication, the better the outcome. When it involved real human presence, facial expressions, voice, and touch, people felt less lonely. They felt less sad, more supported, and genuinely happier. Digital communication can transmit information. However, it cannot transmit humanity. It cannot replicate a feeling of sitting across from someone. It cannot replicate someone who is fully present. It cannot replicate someone looking you in the eye and truly hearing you. It cannot replace the warmth of a hand on a shoulder in a difficult moment. People who limit social media understand this instinctively. They invest in real relationships. They call instead of message. They show up instead of react with an emotion. They build friendships that do not exist for performance. These friendships do not require an audience. They also do not need to be documented and shared to feel real. Because of this, their emotional lives are richer. Their loneliness is lower. Their sense of belonging is genuine, rather than Dr. Brené Brown is one of the world's leading researchers. She studies connection and vulnerability. She has spent decades studying what makes human beings feel truly connected. Her research points in the same direction. Real connection requires vulnerability, presence, and authenticity. Social media fundamentally undermines these three things. It uses filters, curated personas, and carefully crafted captions. Now we need to discuss an invisible epidemic. Social media has unleashed this epidemic upon the world. This epidemic is called social comparison. This is not a new concept. Back in 1954, the social psychologist Leon Festinger published a theory. It would become one of the most cited and replicated findings in all of psychology. He named it social comparison theory. His argument was simple. Human beings have a natural drive to evaluate themselves. When no objective standard is available, they compare themselves to others. This is deeply wired into us. It helped our ancestors understand their place in social hierarchies. It was a survival mechanism. However, it was never designed to operate at the scale forced upon it by social media. Today, the average social media user is exposed to hundreds of snapshots. These snapshots are curated, filtered, and professionally lit. They show other people's lives every single day. They see someone's vacation, someone's promotion, someone's perfect body, someone's beautiful home, someone's thriving relationship. Their brain immediately begins to compare. Following the ancient wiring Festinger described, they ask if they are as successful. They question their attractiveness. They wonder if their life is as meaningful. They also question if their relationship is as passionate. The answer, almost always, feels like no. This happens because they compare their actual unfiltered reality to someone else's highlight reel. This comparison is structurally and mathematically impossible to win. The game is rigged from the start. Peer-reviewed journals have published research confirming this repeatedly. Engaging in social comparison on social media is directly linked to it is linked to higher rates of anxiety and greater rates of depression. It also creates a profound distortion of how people perceive their own lives. Jonathan Haidt is a social psychologist at New York University. He is also the author of The Anxious Generation. Haidt has documented in extraordinary detail how the rise of social media has coincided with a great collapse. This collapse is in youth mental health in recorded history. He is not simply stating correlation, he is building a case for a causation, and the evidence is overwhelming. People who avoid social media simply do not subject their minds to this comparison trap. They do not spend a Wednesday afternoon feeling inadequate. This is not caused by someone they barely know from high school posting photos of a Maldives trip. They do not lie awake at night questioning their life choices. A stranger's profile does not make their own choices feel small. Their self-image is built on the real substance of their life. This includes their real achievements, their real growth, and their real relationships. That foundation is solid in a way that no filtered feed can shake. Now, we arrive at perhaps the most profound psychological gift. It comes from living outside the constant noise of social media. This gift is the capacity for independent thought. This one is quiet. It does not announce itself. However, it is perhaps the most powerful difference we explore today. Here is the mechanism. Social media, by its design, creates what researchers describe as echo chambers. The algorithms that power these platforms are not interested in truth or balance. They are also not interested in the development of your critical thinking skills. They are interested in engagement. They show content you are likely to react to. This content confirms what you already believe. It triggers your emotions. It keeps you on the platform longer. As a result, people are increasingly thinking for the algorithm, not for themselves. They form opinions, not through careful reflection. Instead, they are exposed to the same viral ideas, trending narratives, and collective emotional reactions. These are repeated, amplified, and inescapable. A study published in a peer-reviewed psychology journal found this. Individuals with stronger critical thinking skills are significantly less likely to develop addictive social media relationships. The reverse is also true. The more a person is immersed in constant social media content, the more their critical thinking skills erode. This erosion happens over time. The brain is shaped by what it practices. A mind that practices scrolling becomes a scrolling mind. A mind that practices deep reflection becomes a reflective mind. People who avoid social media have minds never captured by the algorithm. They form their opinions slowly and carefully. They draw from multiple sources. These include books, conversations, and personal experience. When you discuss important topics with them, they often say something surprising. This is not because they are contrarian. Instead, they have thought about the topic independently. An algorithm has not guided their conclusion. This cognitive independence is genuinely rare today. It gives them a quality of thinking that is grounded, nuanced, and difficult to manipulate. Something is also happening at the level of emotional regulation. This deserves deep attention. Constant social media use does not just distract the mind. It also destabilizes it. Every notification is a small jolt of arousal. Every piece of outrage content is a spike of cortisol. Every scroll session ends with a vague, low-grade sense of dissatisfaction. Researchers have described this as a hangover effect. This happens because the dopamine hit was real. However, the connection was hollow. Over time, this pattern trains the emotional system. It exists in a state of constant, low-level anxiety. The mind is never fully calm. It is never fully present. Instead, it is always partially somewhere else. It waits for the next notification. It replays comments someone left. It measures how a post is performing. People who stay off social media are not navigating this constant emotional turbulence. Their nervous systems have room to breathe. They experience longer stretches of genuine quiet. This is not the emptiness of boredom. It is the richness of mental stillness. This is where creativity, clarity, and deep emotional healing happen. This is not just philosophy. The neuroscience of rest and the default mode network provides evidence. This network represents the brain's activity during quiet, undistracted states. It shows that in these moments of stillness, the brain consolidates memories and solves problems. It also processes emotions and generates insight. Social media users never fully access this state. Their default mode is endlessly interrupted. People who avoid social media live much closer to it. Here is what all of this adds up to. This is the most important thing to remember today. The people who avoid social media are not antisocial. They are not behind. They are not missing out. They are doing something that requires genuine self-awareness and courage. This happens in the context of the modern world. They are protecting their attention in a world trying to steal it every second. They are building their self-worth on a foundation. This foundation cannot be taken away by an algorithm. They are investing in relationships that are real. They are thinking for themselves in a world that would prefer they just scroll along. They are living at a depth that most people have forgotten is even possible. Psychology does not lie. The research is clear. The human mind is designed for depth, connection, focused creativity, and genuine presence. Social media, in its current form, works against almost every single one of these needs. The people who have recognized this have chosen to live outside social media script. This recognition can be conscious or instinctive. They operate with a psychological advantage. This advantage shows in everything they do and everything they are. Today, I want to ask you a question. I genuinely want you to sit with it. Do not just consider it for the next 30 seconds. Avoid opening another application during this time. Really sit with this question. What would your mind look like if it had never been trained to seek external approval? What would your attention be capable of if it had never been fragmented 10,000 times by a notification? What would your relationships feel like if they had never been filtered through a screen? What would your thinking sound like if it had never been shaped by an algorithm? These are not rhetorical questions. They are the most important questions you can ask yourself in our current world. Your mind is the most valuable thing you own. You get to decide, every single day, who you give it to.